Hello everyone, and I'm assuming and I'm sure you guys will write mains this year and will fly like pass with flying colors as well. So the idea of the classes is not to again reiterate the things that you guys would know, or probably covering the things that you would know, but in a more structured way, and to train your mind in a way that whenever certain topic come, these are the dimensions you should not miss, and what are the different constructs through whose lens you can analyze. So we'll try it like for this lecture, we'll try to cover things around federalism. It's again not I'm not doing it a basic course where I would explain the difference between unitary, federal, and stuff like that. But if you see a lot of PYQs and federalism, I think these X factor notes, you have the structure there. All these notes have a definite structure where you have all the value addition material at one place. Before that, you'll have all the PYQs at one go, and then you have the answer writing format. Like for federalism, say what are the different construct, different dimensions that is explored, that is given, and then very concise way mein a 360-degree coverage at an advanced level content. So I would not like to go line by line and cover those notes verbatim, but cover in a way so that you get to know what kind of things that you have to keep in mind when you are encountering XYZ topic. And today's topic for the scene is everything about federalism. So first of all, like first things first, like if you're preparing for mains and you have your basics ready, there are 3 articles series that you have to keep in mind and you have to rigorously quote everywhere. This is part 11. This is part 11. This is part 12. These are basically the articles sharing the different ways between the center and the state. This is for the legislative part, this is the administrative part or executive part, and this is the fiscal part. And whenever you are getting a question about federalism, try to have this in mind. Like this you have to put anywhere so that through articles it becomes necessary. 3 things about Indian federalism when we say about the kind of model we have. It's a Canadian model where it's a leaning towards a unitary strong center, but it's a federalism one. Asymmetric federalism is the one that we follow here. 2-3 things that you can always quote in conclusion or introduction, keep it ready, is about Casey Wheare's comment, where he talks about that India is not a federal state with unitary feature, but it's more like a unitary state with federal feature. So that's more or less the essence of Indian federalism, and keep it in mind and internalize that this is a ready-made conclusion in all of the federalism type questions that you get. But if you want to counter that to Casey Wheare, we have the concept of Granville Austin, where he talks about that in context to India, like talking about either it's unitary or whether it's federal does not make sense. But India has a model of cooperative federalism, which is suitable to the demands and aspirations of India in general. And very, very famous case for ready-made conclusion is SR Bommai case, 1994, where he talks about this as a basic feature, federalism as a basic feature of the constitution. So these 3 things, ready-made one articles, there's 3 ones which are the base of federalism that you can always remember. Another concept of where federalism comes into picture is the concept of de jure and de facto principles. Like de jure is basically the constitutional ideals and everything that we want our federalism to look like. But in policies and practice, there is a gap. So de facto is the practicalities. And so there is a gap. And that gap is basically the asymmetric federalism structure that we have. If I go to the next page, I'll have to rub this through again. Okay. So, having established that we know we have an asymmetric federalism, there's obviously two types of asymmetric federalism that we see. One is a vertical and one is a horizontal one. Vertical is basically the power imbalance between center and the states. And horizontal here in case is about the differences in powers, benefits, so on and so forth between the similar level of power authority, here being states. And these are the different dimensions you have to keep in mind when we are talking about the vertical symmetry. The first one, Article 3, which is about how the center can alter the state names, boundaries, so on and so forth. The second one, Article 5 to 11, which talks about single citizenship. Unlike the American model of federalism, that is a benchmark for federal structure that we have. The third one, again, we have the emergency provisions 352, 356, and 360, the national emergency, the precedent rule, and the financial emergency. Fourth, appointment of governor. Plus Article 200 and 201, where the governor has all discretionary power and has the right where they can reserve a bill for the president. The fifth one would take a lot of space, so I'll just erase this. The fifth one is when the parliament has the power to legislate on any state subject. Can you recall what and under what conditions Parliament has a... Yes, first is that 249. $252 is for when two or more than two states request. Then yes, and that is and for 356 as well, when there is a precedent rule as well. This point, like when there is an emergency and this power to make a law is also there in 256 article as well. So since these are consecutive articles, they talk about the same things. So the power of, like, this is where they tell that they have the power to do that. And there is a meta article in 256 that tells under this power, they have this power to do this. Again, then we have 256 talks about when it's a precedent rule, and 250 talks about when there is a national emergency. So this could be made like two different points. And the fifth one being 253. This is for any international agreements. In terms of when there is a river water or there is a land boundary dispute, things like that. For that you have. But apart from that, apart from these also, there are things which are a lot of times we tend to limit only these 5 points when we talk about parliament, legislating, and states. But there's also concept of conditional legislations. Anything that you can recall where before the state makes any law, they'll have to get it verified from a centralizing authority, or there's some conditions before the states can make a law. Yes, that's Article 304. Any other ones where you see there's yes, but then concurrent list, both of them have the way. But I'm talking about where state had the authority, but still it is dependent. Its dependence is more on the concurrent list can be a point as well when clash in concurrent points. That too. But apart from that, when there is a law that at the state level that endangers the position of High Court, so then the assent of the president becomes necessary. There are a couple of other conditional legislatures, but the idea was to tell you that apart from those 5 articles, these are also the legislative ways in which the dependency of state is there on center. Then the sixth one is in terms of administrative delegation. For that, we have 2 articles which becomes necessary, 256 and 257. 256 is basically states have to comply with union laws, and 257 is that says that the executive power of state cannot impede the policies of center. And if the violation of this could lead to imposition of precedent rule as well. And there's another 2 articles following this, 258 and 258A, that also are symbolic of the vertical asymmetry we have, which is Any idea? 250, 250. Not very common, but we tend to miss this. This is non-consensual delegation. Yeah. Yeah, that is also a point where they have to give directives. Non-consensual delegation of executive functions. That will cover the directives one. But here, in terms of when there's a delegation from center to state, that can be done either through a consensual and non-consensual way as well. But there is a provision where if there's a delegation has to be done from the state side to center, it has to be through consent only. So there is an imbalance here when we're delegations. That is also one of the points that highlights the vertical asymmetry one. And yes, with that we have the directives by center to state on promotion of mother tongue, on development of railways, welfare of tribals. So this also encompasses kind of a symmetry that's there with the center and the state as well. And basically from 256 to 257 and these 250, 258A, along with that, the 304 one and the compulsory legislation, we usually tend to forget. So this you can always keep in mind when you are writing a legislative. You can always get from a legislative point of view how there is an asymmetric federalism is constitutionally validated. So you can give more dimensions. Usually people stop till 5 points when these are the further dimensions that you can always keep in mind. Then I think the 7th, very clear, All India Services, Article 312. I don't think we require any discussion on that. But again, we have an election mechanism which is integrated in nature, like the central body that's being selected by the central authorities also does the elections for the state as well. And state election only does with the local governments, Panchayati Raj and urban local bodies. This is your 324 to 329. I mean, the idea of, like, you see, I'm overusing the articles because that becomes necessary for polity. There's nothing like overusing of it. Like, any point you see that there is an article mentioned to it, try to write it. It shows that it's a polity answer and not like a general opinion-based answer. And in case you have a court judgment substantiating for that, there's nothing better than that. Also mention that as well. Then we have the Finance Commission, 280. Yep. So what the things that could come around is that the different ways in which to show that asymmetric federalism is there. There are a lot of questions where we have, I think PYQs had that in India the power is towards, if we have a centralizing authority, what is your opinion on that? National political powers are in favor of centralization, regional parties are in favor of state autonomy. And in all these lenses, you can always have a constitutional perspective to it, where you write key constitution itself tells about a centralizing authority for so and so things, like how it is beneficial in having these articles and having this section, because that helps for a lot of things, uniformity of laws, preventing secessionist policies, taking quick decisions, coordination between different parties, like Like for example, you use this and then you use the directives wala point to say, also have a point key helping for disprivileged society, because there's a directives where it's a obligation of the state governments for taking welfare of STs as well. Mother tongue wala part, like keeping the identity intact. So you make your points in a way and substantiate the articles that we discussed. These are the points on a constitutional level, how asymmetric federalism plays, and show it's beneficial. But your keywords and your subheadings has to be like how it is uniformity, coordination. Like if you want to put All India Services, one of the examples, do not put All India Services. See ki bureaucratic coordination across all the divisions of the country. Then show ki because All India Services manifest probably that under Article 312. So keep the headings, what is the theme they're trying to do, and then substantiate with these constructs and these articles which is mentioned in the Constitution. Next, did we miss anything? And then I think there's audit. We have 148 to 151. It's a CAG office that is responsible for auditing different power structures right from center to state. So the idea is that when you have 10 points at one go and you are writing any question about that, you analyze through these angles, that what are the ideas these 10 points are trying to achieve, and that's how you can mold your answer as per what is the demand of the question is. And if we talk about the horizontal asymmetry, what comes in your mind? How there's an imbalance in power between the states? 371 what? 371 J tak. For mostly northeastern and other specific states के लिए, for their own distinct culture, for their own historical past and everything, for their administrative ease, we have this. Abhi now this has been removed, but 370 had a similar purpose as well. Then we have the Schedule 5 and 6 as well, which is more oriented towards the tribals population and the disprivileged society. And then we have the special category status. What determines the special category status? Is there any who designates that? No, it initially started with National Development Council, and then there's the Granville formula also. That takes into account hilly terrains, economic backwardness, if it attaches to any boundary, sea coast, and a couple of the other factors that determines special category status or not. And what's how imbalance it happens is through the centrally sponsored schemes, where otherwise if you've seen a lot of schemes where the center contribution is either 60% or 50%, but in a lot of special category states you've seen the schemes there is a 90-10 shift. So that's also the way how different states are treated. The fifth one is the case of Delhi and Pondicherry, these, like among the union territories, there's an imbalance because these only have their own special set of legislature, 239A and 239A AA. Delhi, Pondicherry have their own issues and their own imbalances in power structure as compared to other union territories as well. So that's another one is inner permit line as well. What states that's current in practice where you have to get an inner permit line? It's 4 states. The one which boundary is with the Myanmar, which is Arunachal Pradesh, then your Manipur, Mizoram, and Nagaland. So those 4 states have inner line permit as well. Lakshadweep has Abhi, but if you see the northeastern states as well, these are the only 4 states that you have. So that is also one of the points where there's a imbalance in the power structure between at a horizontal level as well. One more thing, when we have federalism wala concept, it's always, as we discussed also, the concept of cooperative federalism by Granville Austin. And this becomes very necessary to also, like this, everything that we talk about cooperative federalism, they themselves can become one particular theme that you can have to read in detail. But for the sake of putting everything at one place, we'll discuss what makes cooperative federalism, what are the different elements attached to it. You can always quote Granville Austin here when we talk about cooperative federalism, because he was an advocate of showing that how India needs a cooperative federalism and it's beyond the framework of unitary and federal structure. And if you ask like why cooperative federalism is necessary, like Granville Austin said this and why it is useful for India. Like you can give a lot of points, like historically how the states were formed, and hence you needed a uniform structure where there has to be coordination between them. Then you can talk about how to prevent a lot of secessionist activities that you can give. Third point, in case of casualties, for example, during COVID, the center has to invoke the Disaster Management Act. For that, although that was a health crisis that goes under the ambit of the state, but we needed a cooperative federalism for both of these to work in tandem. Again, example of education, where we have national education policy, where there has to be uniformity. So you'll have to substantiate our answer through a lot of contemporary such schemes. Farm laws, although now a bit controversial, but then similar things that you have to put in contemporary examples if given asked why this is necessary. Because we always tend to understand cooperative federalism on what elements make it, but we do not go beyond and analyze on a contemporary times that how it is manifested with various examples. So this keep in mind and have some ready-made examples ready in terms of federalism to make your answer more rich. Where cooperative federalism has helped, at what cases, at what laws were involved. There was Essential Commodities Act also, something about that. There is ASPA, which talks about that as well. Similarly, there was the BSF authority. They had to 50 kilometers. That is for national security, which was also necessary. But these are controversial topics, but you can always put it forward in a way to show there was a necessity to do that and point out these relevant contemporary examples to enrich your answers. But again, cooperative federalism, if you talk from a legislative point of view, you have the concurrent list. Where both the state and center have the power to make laws on that as well. For executive, you have your All India services, you have your mutual delegation. We discussed it just before. 258 and 258A. And the directives, how there is a mutual understanding in the executive powers of the center and the states. But we know that when there is a clash between the laws that is made under concurrent list, it's the center whose list will prevail. But who is the executive authority in implementing a concurrent list? It's always the state. Unless if there is a parliament law that explicitly says that the executive implementation of any concurrent list subject has to be done by the center, till then it's always the state's prerogative who has the first say in the executive implementation of it. So that is something that you can always keep in mind. Then we have the fiscal one. We have your finance commission, and we have your, what is this? GST. This we have a finance commission. And the fourth one could be an institutional, which is your three things: Niti Aayog, Zonal Council, and Interstate Council, which is again Article 263. You can also have things like river boards, and interstate river management, all arrangements under Article 262. These also foster a kind of cooperative federalism among various states as well. So these are basically the elements. When you are writing an answer in cooperative federalism, either you can do this approach by different areas, or you can write what are they trying to do, and then you substantiate with these examples and these elements. But this you'll be able to write it organically in the exam if you have this at one time. Like if you would have brainstormed and have kept everything at one go, then it becomes easier to reproduce in the exam in a pressure condition, and where you have a lot of things to put as value addition as well. Again, we have the conceptualization of competitive federalism. Similar to cooperative federalism, where there's idea of Austin, here there is idea of Ronald Watts. And what essentially he says is that when you put different economies into competition, you get the best out of them, which is basically what the capitalist economists say. That also says that when you put different governance structures in competition, the quality of the services that the citizens get, that also get enhanced. So that is his conceptualization. And these seem very unnecessary to quote and unnecessary to keep it in your notes, but these are the ones that would give you edge. Like you can always write what is cooperative federalism, what is competitive federalism, but when you just add the names of either Granville, Austin or Watts, then it just gives you that half mark extra, and that makes a lot of difference, because you have to attack the psyche of the examiner to show that you are a bit better than rest everybody who's writing. So these certain nuances are the ones which will give you more substance in your marks as well. First, the entire manifestation of competitive federalism has by Niti Aayog. You have a lot of indices. Like you have composite water management indices, you have innovation indices, and then apart from that, you have your aspirational district ranking. And apart from that, now we have like the block one as well in the recent budget, aspirational block as well, where it fosters competitive federalism. The second one is by the Business Reform Action Plan. where from a industry point of view, we have two nodes, which is a top ranker, which is the medium rankers and the bottom rankers. So those are also one that fosters competitive federalism as well. Then third, we have the Finance Commission. Finance Commission's term of reference. We have a lot of matrices for we have for population, we have for ecology. Even the devolution of the central taxes to state is also contingent upon the power reforms of the states as well. So we see that in a way, the kind of devolution of taxes that goes to the state is also dependent upon how competitive this power center, the states, are with each other as well. Then we have the schemes. Schemes, again, we have the aspirational district program or aspirational block program. We have the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan under where that fosters the competitive federalism as well. We have similarly Smart Cities Mission, which has its ethos embedded in competitive federalism as well. So these are the ones that manifests competitive federalism that you can keep in mind. What other dimension is important in federalism, do you think? One is another is fiscal federalism that could be a question in itself in one dimension. Again, like if there's a fiscal federalism, without going saying, you have to write 268 to 293. This should come organically, like just seeing fiscal federalism, matlab uske articles, it should come to your mind as well. How give me some points. What are the different dimensions of fiscal federalism? What are the institutions or articles that empowers and manifest fiscal federalism? Yes, Finance Commission, GST Council. What else? Yes, Grant Senate. The grants. Two ways. Yeah, grants in two ways. What are they? 275 and 282. This is statutory and this is discretionary. FRBM. Under FRBM, everybody has to do their FRL, where they'll have to have their own legislation that limits their revenue deficit, fiscal deficits, and like overall economic health as well. And they have to do this periodic reportings. So that's also mandate for them. What else? Yeah, disaster management funds. What else? See from an angle that what disturbs the center and state arrangement. Yes, the borrowing powers. Yes. Is also contingent if they have an additional already loan, they have to take the consent of the center as well. Another that we have like pretty straightforward is the financial emergency. Article 360. for financial emergency. And another one is again the centrally sponsored schemes. That also talks about the fiscal federalism. So what happens in generally, to be frankly speaking, if you see a lot of answer copies, people do not cover all 8 points and they know all of these, but it just do not happen to them in the course of action because you just do not have them at one place. So, and let's say you might not get a fiscal federalism question at one go, but let's say you'll have to, something related to federalism, you have to discuss and have to analyze. If you know these are like 8 themes about fiscal federalism, you can always write 2-3 points more than what your peers were writing. So in mains in general, the idea has to, for irrespective of whatever paper, GS paper, try to keep all the dimensions of one particular topic at one place. And that is necessary for to make all these micro notes for your last minute revisions. Otherwise you'll read, now it feels so trivial ki to sab pata hai. But across when you'll read GS 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll give a lot of tests, and again you'll be overburdened with a lot of content, those will not get internalized unless you just become more thorough with it. Based on what we said about fiscal federalism, what do you think are the issues with fiscal federalism? What? Yeah, like it's a very broad abstract idea. What is the imbalance? Yes. Yes, fiscal autonomy is like, you'll have to pinpoint, right? It's fiscal autonomy is definitely one point. But as the net proceeds, what's the devolution of taxes? Current mandate, the 15 commission as how much have estimated? What percentage from the center pool has to go to 41? And 14th FC had done 42%. But realistically, it formed around 36 point some percentage in 2018-19, and it was a peak. And every other year it was reduced to that. So whatever even the FC had suggested, we could not match to that as well. So that is one of the lacunas that we have. And the second is the contentions on grants in aid. How the principle on which the grants in aid has to be given, there is a tussle for that as well. Whether it should be incentive based or deficit based. The relatively economically prosperous states like Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra contends for incentive-based devolution of the grants, but relatively economically not so prosperous state, sadly, but as a fact, Odisha comes under that. So similar things. There's a tussle between on what principle you have to give. Again, there's Finance Commission. Unlike GST Council, where you have representation of states, Finance Commission has no representation from states. And neither the terms of references does not take states' input also while they're devising a formula either. So that's also one of the problems that we have. The cess that we have, if you see this percentage of cess as a percentage to the center's entire taxation, that has increased 10x almost, sorry, not 10x, 2x, doubled as compared to what it was in 2011 and 12. It was around 10%, and now in 2020-21, it has come to around 19.9%. So, and cess goes to the center. So they have a more taxation power in addition to the state, and that's why they have a more imbalance in the fiscal autonomy here as well. Again, in spite GST has been in place, the center can impose excise duty on certain products like tobacco, which increases its even more additional pool of taxation pool that it gets. 6, under Article 282, which is the discretionary grants, it does a lot of, it kind of limits the autonomy of the states, because they release a lot of discretionary funds for a lot of programs like be it Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana or MG Narega, where the states are funding for this, but they have less say on the policy. These are mostly center-driven policies, but the states have to fund for that as well. Similar thing was there for the Fasal Bima Yojana as well, and that is why a lot of states discontinued the same, because it kind of became financially unviable for the states to continue for that as well. 7, again, GST is a contentious issue, because there's a GST compensation has been in controversy as well. So with that also, GST, if you see, that subsume 44% of state tax and 28% of center tax. So there's a imbalance in that way as well. There's a vertical imbalance as well between the expenditure. So union has a more share in the domains in which it can levy tax, but its expenditure is less as compared to the states. So there is a vertical imbalance in terms of the domains on which they can levy taxes and the amount of actual expenditure they are doing. So that is also one of the contentious issues in fiscal federalism. There's one important Supreme Court judgment that you have to keep in mind: Union of India versus Mohit Minerals. That talks about that the states have equal, simultaneous, and unique power in making laws for GST, and the recommendations of GST councils is not binding on the states. This is also one of the landmark judgments regarding the fiscal federalism and can be quoted at a lot of places. Either it's for GST last year, there was a question 101st Constitution, which was on GST as well. So that's a relevant article that can be quoted. Court judgment that can be quoted, and was very recent as well. We'll discuss apart from we'll discuss the fiscal federalism issues and cooperative competitive federalism issues. What do you think are the general contemporary issues where there is a federal imbalance or contentions between federalism? We'll just start enlisting one by one. Governor, 1, yes. And when you're talking governor, you can talk about appointments, ambiguity in constitutions, discretionary power under Article 163. Then you can talk about Article 200 and 201, where there's a veto power. 5th, appointment of vice chancellor, which was seen in Kerala as well. The Tamil Nadu need bill, you can give example where the president has sent, that case was there. So governor, you can give 5-6 perspectives as well. Next. Yes, special category status. For that, if you can always give a recommendation by Raghuram Rajan committee, he had said instead of having special category states, you can have least developed states. That category you can make, and you do not have to make it like a special category states as well. Matlab, to prevent one size fit all policy approach. What other do you think? Yes, fifth schedule demand of Ladakh and everything else as well. Apart from that, you can always keep the initial ones that you had read, like the imbalances, all India services, emergency provisions. So all these are also the contentious issues. The central authorities like the CBI and ED, there is a tussle between the states and the center for that as well. Yes, so that's all India services. If you see that as well. What else? Always think from lens of legislature, executive, judiciary, institutions, and policies. So in terms of policies, if you see, we have farm laws, which are issues, national education policy, that's an issue, pension system, NPS, if you see, as a policy discussion, there is a tussle between that as well. So always have these constructs ready. You'll see either by laws wise, or constitutional article wise, or administrative wise, or any institution wise, or any policy wise. These are the frameworks in which you can analyze polity questions as well. And if you see institution wise, what do you think? What are the contentions for any institutions? We discussed about CBI, ED, and things like that. Anything that has been created but is not functioning well. Finance Commission, GST Council, Interstate Council. Then you can talk about Interstate Council's issues, that even though Punchi Commission had recommended to make it a permanent one, and at least there should be 3 times meetings, but you can always quote from 2015-16, I think hardly there had been very minimal meetings for that as well. The Secretariat of Interstate Council still lies with the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is a central authority, but does not have an independent Secretariat of Interstate Council as well. For Interstate Council, there is also an issue that the representation is usually by politicians and does not have a lot of representation from people having technical background as well. So that is also one of the things. A lot of Interstate Council has a lot of attendance from the ruling party itself. The opposition attendance is minimal in Interstate Council meetings. Again, in a lot of other countries, if you see Interstate Councils, they might not have something called Interstate Council, but any meeting or any body on similar principles, their meetings get telecasted and public opinion and everything is taken. But that is missing in India. So with Interstate Council, you have 5-6 things to discuss as well here. Then what other contentious issue is always Delhi. Delhi is a contentious issue, like federalism hai to you'll have to bring always Delhi as a point and the issues around it too. Then if you see all the issues that we discussed, these are all vertical, and that happens when you're talking about imbalances in federalism and asymmetric federalism. We always tend to isolate our thinking only towards vertical imbalance and do not talk about horizontal ones. So abhi issues may also talk about interstate disputes, we talk about river disputes. So that is also one of the contentious issues. Yes, that as well. Border areas, and give examples, Belgaum for Maharashtra and Karnataka. And similarly, we have river water skill. There are a lot of multiple ways of contentious. Another vertical, there is one issue, if you can give, is how devising our foreign policies. For example, in Tista River sharing, there was issues between West Bengal government and the center. Similarly, we have Lookist policies where the northeastern states have also a say in the same as well. Same with Tamil Nadu and Sri Lankan issue as well. That's also contentious issues between the center and the state too. That's mostly like a political issue to regional party and saying something, but could be, but at the last point you can, yeah, but not this. There's mostly a political issue and not like a policy issue. Yes, that's a policy one. NEP, farm laws, and Even if you see NRC, CA, issues in Assam and everything, West Bengal. So that's also a policy thing that you can see. Yes, MSP as well. Yes, that's also one contentious issue around federalism. And in federalism, always ensure you quote second ARC, Sarkaria Commission, Punchi Commission, Venkatachalaya Commission. These you have to do it because these are very core suggestions who always put it, and they have talked about a lot. At least Sarkaria and Punchi be thorough, and unke governor ke side, unke 7th schedule ke contentious issues, what are their suggestions for, and और जो भी dimensions है that 7th schedule का क्या क्या changes होने चाहिए, that keep in mind, and definitely quote committees for federalism for sure. And we discussed interstate council, we discussed governor ke issues as well, but apart from that, their interstates ka area dispute is also part of this. You can get a question on GST similar to what we had in 2023 as well, that you can always put into perspective. And I think more or less these are the areas in federalism that there's one could be a question on the how 7th schedule needs revamp, and basically the sharing state, union, concurrent and residual powers. So what do you think? Either you can get how this division is fair and has lived up to his expectation, and or you could have that what reforms are necessary. What do you think? What are the reforms necessary for here? Yeah, that's one part. Key. Yes. So there is exactly. So there are contentions that are similar to agriculture and agri marketing. So one is in concurrent and one is in state. Things like that. Same with water. Since it has overlapping between multiple lists, so that also is a contentious issue. And again, first of all, you have to write ki, since it is a derivative of Government of India Act 1935, so it's become obsolete and requires revamp. Again, also there's an issue ki a lot of new concerns are coming up: cybersecurity, digital governance, data protection. Those are not at all being taken care of as well. Another cases, like if you can always quote the committees, Sarkaria Commission and all, they have said that residual powers have to come to state and not the center, similar to what the American model talks about. Punchi Commission has a recommendation that only those things which requires uniformity should come to a concurrent list, and not all of them. So 7th schedule is also something that you can read in deeper way and take things from there as well. In governor, ensure you have a lot of Supreme Court judgments. Like for one very recent one, 2016, the Nibam Rabia case, where it was said that the discretionary power under Article 163, that should not be fanciful. And we have the initial Samset Singh case, 1974, that becomes essential for governor as well. Then we have BP Singhal versus Union of India, that talks about the tenure and of the governor has to be fixed, and the ambiguities around that in constitution has to be fixed as well. Another one was SR Bommai case as well, that talks about flow test has to be done by the governor, and he cannot just remove a state government like on fanciful way may. And there's another on governor is Rameshwar Prasad case, where that talks about judicial review, that talks that under Article 361, that is also very important article for governor that you have to remember. Article 361 that gives them immunity for their official work, that cannot be also made fanciful way may. That there also judicial review is applicable that you have to talk. There's one good in NCT of Delhi versus Union of India, the 2018 case. This is a conclusion that you can put at a lot of places, where it says that Constitutional morality places responsibilities and duties on individuals who occupy constitutional offices and institutions. So this is a code that you can put in governor ke cases mein, or there is any dispute where about if there's an alleged controversy about CBI or ED, any constitutional office or non-constitutional offices, maybe statutory offices, this you can put that constitutional morality should guide their action. So ऐसे कुछ ready-made conclusions always keep handy that you can put until unless just writing ऐसे कुछ भी random conclusion generalized one, keep these things and mention कि a court judgment अगर हो, so that enhances your entire answer as well. So more or less this ensure you go deeper for governor, interstate council, 7th schedule, interstate dispute and GST for federalism as well. But more or less we discussed asymmetric, symmetric federalism, horizontal, vertical, contentious issues, cooperative, competitive federalism. Then we talk about fiscal federalism, issues of fiscal federalism and issues of federalism here in general, and discuss the allied areas of governor, interstate council and things like that. So necessary court judgments, SR Bommai case is important. Concept of Granville Austin that you can always put for cooperative federalism, KC Wheare as well. And a couple of other court judgments for governor becomes handy. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you so much.